Give me your gun.
You know how to use this?
Kinda. I've covered wars, you know.
Hey peeps, today I'll be talking about one of my favourite games in the most non-biased way possible, Dead Rising. In the light of the remaster being right around the corner and the hype I have for it, I'll be expressing my love for this game and all of its problems too. 18 years ago, Dead Rising came out to the at the time newest gen console, the Xbox 360. It revolutionized zombie games and started heaps of trends that we still see in gaming today. Dead Rising at the time almost acted like a goofy sibling to Capcom's other zombie series, Resident Evil. While that series went for quality, Dead Rising went for quantity. This definitely wasn't a bad thing, however, with your screen being absolutely filled to the brim with zombies. Unfortunately, while Resident Evil shined and had new releases almost yearly, Dead Rising hasn't been so lucky. But I'm getting ahead of myself, let's talk about this classic. Dead Rising is a third-person survival horror game where you play as Frank West. He's a photojournalist trying to get his next big scoop, and his leads lead him to the remote town of Willamette. Population 53,594. When he arrives in town, he's greeted by an odd handsome fella named Carlito, and things pretty much start from there. Frank then finds out that the mall has been infected with your classic zombies, and that's all thanks to this woman right here.
You see my baby? I can't live without my precious little sweetie doggy. My Madonna is out there. No.
You then take refuge with a few survivors inside a security room. From there, it's up to Frank to uncover the mysteries of the outbreak and save the day. While it's nothing crazy, the story is interesting and still holds up to this day. Without spoiling it, I see plenty of tropes that are used in this game's story still used in shows today. Frank's also got to be one of the best main characters in a game. He's covered wars, you know.
Did you just say zombies?
Although he doesn't talk too much, Frank has a surprising amount of depth to him and is borderline unlikable at times, but that helps his character grow in even more ways. There's lots of side characters that also bounce off of him really well. You've got the uptight and funny looking Brad, and the lovable Jessica, who just sits there and watches the cameras. You've also got Otis.
Hello?
The security room is where the loop of the game comes in, with you venturing into the mall to progress the story and rescue survivors. Everything in this game is on a timer, so you're always under pressure. I can already see a bunch of people being turned off by the sound of that, but it adds a layer of stress that I don't feel from many games, which makes it stand out all the more. Another thing that definitely makes the game stand out, and especially back in 06, is the combat. It might not look like anything special, but the idea of picking up any item you can find in a mall and using it to kill whatever you see is just plain awesome. You can put masks on the zombies, shoot them in the face, or cut them in half with a katana. They never stop coming, and neither do the ways that you kill them. It's always been heaps of fun, even with the wonky controls. The zombies, however, aren't the only thing you'll have to worry about. The bosses in this game, or as they're rightly named, the psychopaths, are extremely over the top in the best way. A misunderstood clown, a gun shop owner, and a supermarket clerk are just some of the ways that help express this game into new levels. I do love Adam over here. Well, be careful, Adam! Most of them are all tough as balls and have some killer soundtracks to back them up. To anyone who's played this game, I could play one note from one of the songs and it will still send chills down your spine. Speaking of the soundtracks, the mall music in this game is subtle and yet perfect. All the different tunes that play in this game are groovy and contrast in quite an hilarious way to what you're doing in the game. I've talked a lot of good, but however, I do need to be honest and talk about some bad. There's many little design choices in this game that are very questionable. For example, Frank can change into heaps of different pieces of clothing in the mall, and every time you try something on new, Frank has to do this long and although sexy animation of trying it on. The game has a big mechanic of having you manual save in toilets and other areas, and with how important this is, they are pretty far and few between. Also, whoever decided it was a good idea to make R2 on a PS4 controller the aim button definitely doesn't have many friends. A lot of the game has you rescuing survivors, and they suck. The AI is just so 2006. When you go to rescue people, you have to lead them back to the safe room very slowly. This can be a downright nightmare. They get stuck on everything, get surrounded, and the pathing is broken most of the time. The AI is so bad in this game that it's actually somewhat iconic, but unfortunately it makes the trophies so frustrating. Before I do get to them, while I really like the time system, some cases come with the worst possible times, like this one during a really good boss fight. It just makes it so you can't even savor the fight. Also, the biggest complaint about this game, Otis. Just Otis. If you know, you know. So like I was saying about those trophies, this is not an easy game to platinum at all. You'll be looking up upwards of 5 playthroughs to get it. And there's quite a few of infamous trophies here, so I'll try and round them all up. The Saint trophy requires you to get almost all the survivors out of the mall. Like I was saying with before, the AI can make this really hard. Some parts you'll need to plan which route you're going to take, how you're going to keep everyone alive, and what times most cases start at. The Frank the Pimp trophy needs to be done on a separate run, and has you escort 8 female survivors at once. The very iconic Zombie Genocider trophy, where you need to kill over 53,000 zombies, in which you'll need to spend a whole playthrough doing. You do this one by going underground and running zombies down over and over again till eventually you get the trophy. I actually recommend doing this one earlier because you get the Mega Buster from Mega Man, which helps you do everything else. The Transmissionary trophy might be my most hated one because of one word. Otis. Then finally, the trophy that is probably the most known out of all of these, the 7-Day Survivor trophy. Anyone who knows the trophies in this game was waiting to hear this one. So basically, after you've finished the game and gotten the true ending, you unlock Infinite Mode. In this mode, you constantly lose health, and it's about trying to stay alive as long as possible before you eventually die. This trophy asks you to survive 7 in-game days, which roughly translates to 14 hours of real time. This is just awful. Some areas are also pretty much off limits, with the food court crashing your game after you hit day 5. So, that's most of what you need to know when it comes to the game. How good is it? Well, you know, it's a 10 out of 10, baby, not a single problem. The plat, well, obviously, it's a 10 out of 10, baby, also not a single problem. And the difficulty of the plat? Like a 7.